Sandy Munro has had a look at the Toyota BZ4X. I think he was too generous and too kind to Toyota personally, but I'm going to give you a quick summary of what he said about the Toyota BZ4X, what he liked, what he didn't like, and what my opinion is on all of this. Hello, my friends. Welcome to the channel. Great to see you. Thank you for tuning in. Thank you to all 4,000 of you who have donated to our GoFundMe campaign, even like $5, $10. Every single donation is incredibly important, and we have been using it to fund the cancer treatments that Shanna is doing right now. So for those of you who have accused me of making it up, here is a breakdown of the prices. You can look at that. Have a good look. There's the prices. There's the stuff that's done on a weekly basis. In fact, there's the second page. There's the third page. Yeah, you get the point. I'll stop there. I'll stop boring you. But yeah, it did bother me a little bit seeing people say that and accuse me of fraud. Yeah, if you believe that, call Verita Life in Thailand. It's one of the biggest cancer clinics in Thailand. Anyhow, thank you for tuning in. Great to see you. Sandy Munro tore down the BZ4X. And yeah, he had some good things to say, some bad things. I think Toyota has admitted to some of what he said. And I think Toyota would have been smart to have actually looked at what Sandy Munro said when he tore down the various iterations of the Model Y over the course of a couple of years, which you've seen the different body shells. There's 3 of them, 3 different versions of the Model Y. I'm sure there'll be a 4th one within the next 12 months with the new Highlander Model Y version. I'm sure he'll get one of those. Then we'll have a 4th version. Basically, Tesla will go into their 4th version of an EV. And Toyota, well, they'll have the BZ4X, which is manufactured on a production line that makes hybrids, plug-in hybrids. Yet Toyota don't have any dedicated EV production lines anywhere in the world. So this is an expensive car to manufacture. And that's one of the things Sandy actually pointed out. One of the things Sandy liked about the BZ4X was the interior. He said it makes sense. And when I first saw the interior of the Toyota BZ4X, I thought, hey, that's better than most cars Toyota build these days, because their interiors are just, in my opinion, they're shite. They're cheap looking and plasticky looking in the inside. It definitely looks better than most Toyota vehicles. But if you compare it to a lot of modern cars in this price range, I think the interior doesn't look very good at all. But Sandy did make one point here, and he said it makes sense the way that they've actually offset the screen to the steering wheel. So you can see the screen, the steering wheel doesn't block the screen.
Anyway, the first thing that I really liked is the fact that the steering wheel is lower than the instrument panel. And I've never really thought about it before, but I really like this. I like the fact that I can see what's going on.
I agree. That's a good design. It looks ugly, but it's actually a good design. Sandy's right on that. Now, Sandy said the interior is well appointed, has some decent specifications. Its autonomous driving software is abysmal, but he doesn't really talk about that very much, but it is. We know it is. Anyhow, one thing he said is he likes the screen covering the sunroof. That seemed to me to be a little bit of a dig at Tesla, because obviously Tesla doesn't have a screen covering sunroof because they don't have sunroofs in their car. Well, really, they focus on having the big glass roof, which gives you that big panoramic view. So that's one of the good things. I mean, that's a pretty traditional thing to have in a car, though, to have a screen covering the sunroof. There's many, many cars that have that. But one other thing he pointed out was that the car has wireless smartphone charging, which is, yeah, I guess, if you've got to find a good feature, you can pull that out. But it also has comfortable seats. Now, some of the reviews that I've read says the seats aren't that comfortable, but Sandy likes the seats. I've never sat in the car. I can't tell you. When it comes here to Australia, I'll go to a dealership and I'll sit in the car and I'll find out if Sandy was right. But it's hard to know, though. You kind of need to drive it for a fair way. Sandy probably did that from what I've seen, so he probably has a better idea. Now, Sandy had a few criticisms. Where to start on this? Let's look at the start where he says there's too many buttons in the cabin, too many buttons on the steering wheel. Some of the buttons are just pointless. The Toyota doesn't need some of the buttons that are there. Buttons are a good thing sometimes, but some of them just don't make any sense. That's what he said. Driving experience. Sandy doesn't like the fact, okay, this is my pet peeve as well. Many of you don't care about this. I've spoken to many of you. For example, some of you at Fully Charged Live, some of you just in person, some of you on email, messages, all over the place. I've had these conversations with you guys. It's been very interesting. My pet peeve. I hate it in an EV when they don't have one pedal driving. I get the fact that a lot of you don't plan on ever using that, and that's totally fine. But not having the option is something I can't stand. Why not give people the option? Sure, you can have a toned down version, which is basically what BYD have. There's a lot of EVs now on the market that don't have one pedal driving, and reviewers almost never talk about this. I think this is a major drawback. You have to use your brakes. You know, I don't want to use my brakes. I don't want to waste money. I don't want to press my brakes. Every time you press your brakes, actual brakes, you're just throwing money down the drain. It doesn't make sense. Him and his wife weren't able to get the one pedal driving working, if it even has that feature. I don't think it does. And so that was a significant issue for me. The other things about the car, the styling, yeah, inside and out, not bad. I mean, I'm totally fine with the styling. What about the weight? Sandy doesn't really focus on the weight very much, but it is true this car is about a similar weight to a Tesla Model Y, and it is about 10% smaller. But to be fair, that's the same for almost all Tesla competition. All of Tesla's competitors have that similar drawback. There is really no one in the industry making cars at the weight of Tesla cars for the size that their cars are. That's just something Tesla has absolutely nailed. Now, Sandy plans on tearing the car down more, kind of examining it, and there were a few things I think he's going to find when he does it. He's going to find out the real size of the battery pack, because no one knows. Why is this interesting? Well, there's a scandal in Europe right now. Journalists in Norway tested the car in cold conditions. The range was about 40% less than Toyota claims, whereas the range of all their competitors was on average 15 to 20% less. What they did is they actually went and drove the car on different days because they were so shocked by the range being so much lower. I think it might have been even close to 50% less than Toyota's claims. And they weren't the only journalists that had this experience. They tested the car on various other days and they could not get it to perform anywhere near what Toyota says it does. These journalists did some other tests and they found that they believe the battery pack is not the size Toyota claims. It's smaller. They contacted Toyota for a comment on this. This was months ago now. I reported on this. Toyota said nothing. Now, are you a little bit curious as to the weirdness of the whole scenario going on here? Toyota get asked, what size is the battery pack really? And they don't have an answer. In addition to that, we had, 7-8 months last year where Toyota couldn't figure out how to get the wheel bolts to stay on the wheels. I mean, you can get kids' toys where the wheel bolts will stay on the car wheels. It doesn't make sense. Toyota said that they had the best engineers in the world. And some of their engineers are actually very good. So you're telling me that all these hundreds, probably thousands of engineers at Toyota couldn't figure out how to get the wheel bolts to stay on the wheels of their EVs? That is not a story I'm buying. I believe there's significant problems with the battery pack, or at least there was. Toyota wanted to avoid the PR nightmare of that happening, and therefore they said nothing. It's going to be interesting to see what Sandy says about the battery pack size, about the car, about the technology when he actually tears it down. In the US, if you qualify for the $7,500 tax credit, the Model Y is cheaper, bigger, it's a better car. I don't know why anyone would buy this, to be honest, in the United States. In China, on the other hand, some companies, some dealers are selling these for $20,000 US. That is just crazy cheap. If they're $20,000 US, then yeah, I would absolutely consider buying one. Would you? Now let me know what your thoughts are about the BZ4X. People think maybe I'm being too critical. I don't think I am. I think Toyota has admitted to the fact that it is an expensive car. It wasn't designed as a ground-up built EV. Toyota have had many years to do this. They're the biggest company in the world, the biggest motor company in the world. They have the most debt in the world. And yet, this is what they gave us. It's a disappointment, unfortunately. Hopefully, their next model, their EV-only platform, hopefully that changes the paradigm and the narrative for Toyota, because it needs to. Thank you for watching.